Hi, in chapter 6 we will talk about functions. So to motivate the function, let's talk about modular programming. Modular programming is that we break the program into smaller pieces. These pieces are called function or modules. So the function is just a collection of statements to perform some tasks. Why we do functions in programming? Because we want to improve the maintainability of the programs, and because we want to simplify the process of writing the programs. For example, instead of writing very long program like this, we can divide the program into smaller pieces. This helps in maintaining the code. For example, if you are doing the same things many times, you just do it in one function and you call it many times. And if you want to change this function, you change it once. You don't need to change it in different places. So this helps in the organization of the code. So let's see how we can define and call function. We have something called function call. This function call, if this statement will cause a function to execute. And we have function definition. This is the definition of the function that we want to call later. The function definition consists of many things. The first thing is the return type. Let me give it by example. So for example, the main, what we wrote in all our programs, is also a function. This function consists of the return type. It can be which type this function will return. It can be void if it does not return anything, or it can be integer or double or any type. This is the name of the function. This is the parameter list. In this case, the main has no input, no parameters that can take. And this is the function body that we write. So these are the parts of the function definition: return type, name, parameter list, and the body. So the line that read int main is the function header. So we call the first line the function header. So in a function, a function returns a value. The type must be indicated, like whether it's integer or double or string or whatever. If there is no return type, we just make void. Void, for example, for the function that does not return a value. It just prints something or do something without returning something to me. For example, this function print heading, okay, it just print monthly sales. So how to call the function? You just write the name of the function and the parameter list. In this case, we don't have a parameter list or input for this function. And we make semicolon. So this line will cause the call of the function. So when we call a function, we leave this line and go to that function and execute all the body of the function. After the function finish, we come back to this point. So this is example. We define here a function, a void function that does not return anything, called display message. And in the body of the function, we just print hello from function display message. Then we have the main. So this is the start of the function, this is the end of the function, and then we have the main function. We print hello from the main. Then we call display message. This line will cause us to move to this function, execute the body of the function, and come back. And then we print back in the main again and return 0. So hello from the main, hello from the function display message, back in the function main again. I want to mention that although this function appears first, but all the running of the program start from the main function. So the running will start from here, and then if we call a function, we will go here and come back. So you see how it's working from the main, and then we call the display message. We will leave the main, execute this function, and come back to the next statement in the main. So the main can call any number of functions, and the function can call also other function. If you call a function, the compiler must know the following when you call a function: the name, the return type, the number of parameters, and the data type of each parameters. We will see examples later. Let's talk about function prototype. Function prototype is a way to declare the function before writing it in details. So we want to notify the compiler about the function before to call a function. So for example, how to write the function prototype? You just copy the function header and you put semicolon. This is the function prototype. So let's take example. This is you include IO stream using namespace. Now I declare two functions. The first function is called first. Second function is called second. So I'm not writing the full functions here. I just declare them or write the prototype first, and then I start the main function. So here I print I'm starting the main function. Then I call the first function. So the detail of the first is not here, but at least the compiler knows that there is a function called first. This is the idea of the prototype. So where I can find the first function, it's later in the code. This is the first function, the second function. So I can call them now. And again, I will go to execute them and come back and so on. So after I run this program, I will not get any error because I defined the prototypes first. So place prototype near the top of the program. The program must include either the prototype or full function definition before any call. So before you call the function, either you put the prototype up or you put the complete function up. So you have two options. When using prototypes, you can place a function definition in any order. If you have a prototype, then you can make the function after the main in any place. Don't worry. So let's talk about sending a data into a function. If I want to call a function and this function take input, I can send the input to this function. For example, power AB. This power is a function, built-in function in C++, so it will return A to the power of B. And I will store it in C. We call these values that we pass argument. And we call the variable in the definition of the function's parameters. So for example, when I define this function take input of type integer. I call it num. This num is called parameters. Okay. So when you print, you can print some number. So this number, when you call this function, you have to give it a value. This value is called argument, and this variable is called parameters. So the integer variable num is a parameter. Okay. It accepts any integer value passed to the function. So let's take example. Here I make a prototype of it. Void display value int. So I write what it accepts. It accepts one integer. This is the prototype. And then I print something. And then I call this message. I call it and I give it 5. So this 5 is called argument. Yeah, argument. So let's see the function definition. This is called parameters. So I will copy the argument and assign it to this parameters num, and then I will print the value is 5. Okay, then I go back to the main function. So this is how to call display value 5. When I give it 5, this 5 will be assigned or stored inside num. So this is again, this is the argument and this is the parameter. So we can, there are other names for parameters and argument, but I don't want to confuse you with these names. So let's stick to the what we mentioned before. So parameters, prototypes, and function header. So make sure if you want to write a prototype, you write void even or odd, and it takes integer. If you write the header of the real function, you have to write something like this, and then you write int and you give a name of the variable of the parameter. And if you want to call, you just give a value or a variable that has a value, and you can pass it like this. So this is just to differentiate between the three things: prototype and header and call. They look a little bit the same, but there are small differences between them. So some notes about function call. Value of the argument is copied into the parameter when the function is called. When we call a function with a value 5, this 5 is copied to the stored in the argument. The parameter scope is the function which use it. The scope of the parameter is the complete function. For example, here the scope of num is the complete function. I cannot use num outside the function. You can use it in the complete body of the function. There must be a data type listed in the prototype. If you write a prototype, you should write the data types. Is it one integer or two integers, and so on. Argument will be promoted or demoted necessarily. For example, if the function accept double and you give it integer, it will accept that because integer can be transferred into double easily. So let's take example. Here I define a prototype of a function, show sum. It takes 3 integer, okay, and then here I define 3 integer variables. I ask the user to enter 3 values, and I see in the 3 values, and then I call show sum value 1, value 2, value 3. So again, these are called now arguments, okay. Let's see and these are called parameters. So the values will be copied to these parameters, and then I will just print the sum of them. That's it, okay. So when I call show sum, I give some values. These values will be copied in the same order to the parameters, okay. So passing data by value. Normally when you call a function, you give a copy of the value to that function. So the value is copied into the parameters. So if the function tried to change the parameter, this will not affect the original value. For example, I have a function called even or odd. I give it value 5. So value is 5. I give it val, which is 5. So this 5 will be copied into num. Even the function change num, this will not change the original value of val, because I passed the parameters by value. So I give only a copy of this 5. So even the function change it, the original variable will not be changed, okay. So using function in menu driven, usually it's very helpful to use function in menu driven programs. For example, if you press 1, you add a contact, so you can call a function add a contact, you can call a function delete a contact. So this will organize the code much better. The return statement. Some function return values and some function are void, right? So we can, in both, we can use return statement used to end the execution of the function. So when we reach return, it will stop executing the function. Can be placed anywhere in the function. Statement that follow the return statement will not be executed. Everything after return will not be executed. And this can be used abnormal termination of the program, as we will see in the example. In the void function, without a return, if the function is void, you can write a function without return. In this case, it will just finish till you reach the end of the function. So this is example. This is a void function. It's called divide. It takes 2 doubles, okay. Here I ask the user to enter 2 doubles, and then I call the function on the 2 doubles that the user enter. So here I write, if argument 2 is 0, I will print, sorry, I cannot divide by 0, and then I make return. Return means khalas, finish the function. Otherwise, I will just print argument 1 divided by argument 2. So that's all for this video, and let's continue in the next video. Thank you.